Alright, hello everybody. This is my Module 8 Data Analysis and Interpretation screencast. So I decided to do this just thinking it would be a little easier to talk about the data than to try to type and break it up and organize it that way. So there's 47 students here. In my wood technology class, which is basically a wood shop class. They range from 9th through 12th grade, and this is all first year or level 1 students who it's their first year in wood shop, and we're looking at those. What we see is just a group of safety tests. 2 projects here in white, and in green down this arrow is their daily grade, which is comprised of 2 points for participation or working on their project, 2 points for cleaning up their area, and a point for, adhering to all safety procedures and safety equipment as they move through. So I brought everything into an Excel spreadsheet that I exported from Schoology within hopes to kind of look at it and color orient it and see what's going on. I analyzed each test individually with their averages, or each quiz, and then I also looked at the min, the max, and the ranges in those quizzes, and I did the same for the daily grade. I didn't really touch anything with the cutting or the scroll saw project because those aren't technically due to the end of the marking period, so I have a lot of missing grades. Some of these quizzes aren't technically due to the end of the marking period, but we've been working on those, so I put in a zeros on those to make sure that they are completing them, because they can't work on those machines until they have a passing grade of 100%. So without those, they aren't eligible to work on them alone. So just looking at this quickly, with the dark red here, you see that there's a lot of zeros moving through, meaning the students have not attempted to take the quizzes yet. And they do get 3 attempts to master it at 100%. If they do not do that in the 3rd attempt, then they are required to come in at their own time to go through another lesson on that machine so that they can learn how to use it correctly and know what's needed. So I can see that there's a lot of people that have not have taken it. I also look at some red flags of the people that have not gotten the 100% on there, or maybe if they'd attempted and still have gotten a 0 of what's going on. Now, I haven't been able to do that and break it down into a spreadsheet, but that's where I'm at. In terms of the daily grade, I'm really looking at the students who are not at 100%. And I want to look at that and see why they're not at 100%, and where they're at. 25 is 100%. And when I look at it, I know the students' names, and I can see, hey, maybe these students with the 17s or the lower end of the average, below the average, are the ones that tend to be a little more quiet and more reserved and not ask for as much help unless I'm asking. So am I looking at, are they scared? Are they unsure? Are they not positive? So I need to, maybe have a more of a informal conversation with them and see what's going on. There's only 1 week of this, so it's 5 points per day. So a total of 25 points, because we just really got into starting the projects and moving into what actually would be a wood shop. So I don't really have a good pool of data of how I'm actually teaching when I get through the year. I hope to have that starting here in the next couple of weeks for that action research, so I can get them plans and get them moving and see and do a little bit of discussion with the students. Now, the nice thing, and the thing that I read in the chapter in the beginning there, they were discussing about student reflective grading, or having students be part of the grading, which I've done every year I've been there with the woodshop. I want them to learn and look at the project and break it down and discuss it with me based on the rubric of what they feel the grade should be, why it should be there, what have they learned, what if I look at the rubric and look at there, what changes can I make, and discuss with them. So for the first 2 projects, basically all students get 100% unless they don't complete it, or it's something that's just falling apart and there's no effort there. It's just for them to learn and achieve a grade and get them off to a good starting point and realize what's asked of them and then move from there. But I want to take a step back and click over to our Schoology page. So we use a learning management system called Schoology, which kind of breaks everything down for you. This is one class for me, so I can look at the classes individually and see what's going on and what the average grade is at that point in time, who hasn't handed in work and whatnot. But something that's really nice, so if I go over to, let's do the daily grade, because that's really what I'm going to be looking at a lot between this and the projects. If you do click on here, you can do a lot of different things. Track how many times you revised it. Most importantly, you kind of can view some statistics, which is nice because it tells you that, hey, overall there's 47 grades. On this class there's not that many, but it looks at, since I have them linked, a total of all of them, tells you what the max points they could earn, the highest grade, the lowest grade, your average grade. So then you look at the standard deviation based on where they sit, and then you can look at the mean, or the median, and the mode. So I like that because it's quick. I don't have to do all the calculations. I can quick and look and say, hey, I have 47 students. This is what this class is doing compared to those classes and where they're at. And then I can look at the standard deviation and see if I have any outliers one way or the other, or if most of mine is concentrated on a grade that I feel is acceptable and where they should be and what they should be doing. Clearly I would want everyone to be at 100% and just make it work, but we're not in a perfect world and that doesn't always happen. So hopefully when I get into the meat and potatoes of the course, where they're developing plans and they're working to build furniture or projects or signs or trinkets or things, whatever they're making, you can get to that. So, but looking at here, there is that red flag of that low grade at a 68% based on participation. That's really telling me that, they're giving a 68% effort into the class and where they're moving forward to. So it's something I have to connect with them and move with. So, this is just a real quick overview of the data that I have. It's just with everyone required, let me say close this, to get hundreds on these tests. Really what I'm looking at in my data at this point in the year is just who hasn't completed it, why they haven't completed it, and how I need to get them to that point and where I need them to get to. But like I said, as I move through, I'm going to be concentrating more on these and why they're not participating, as well as these scores and what these rubrics actually look like. You can click and see that I have the rubrics here, and I can break this down with the students, and I can, once it is graded for a student, you are able to see where they were clicked, what they have, and I can break down a little more of what's going on. So hopefully this was a little insight to not the only data, but the learning management system we use and how they can be helpful to collect and make data interpretation a little bit easier.